Ever wondered what really happens when you just disappear from someone's life? I'm not talking about pulling back. I mean going completely silent. No texts, no calls, no goodbyes. You vanish like you never existed. What do they feel? What do they go through emotionally when they realize they lost a man like you? In today's world, where people treat loyalty like an option, sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to walk away without saying a word. In this video, we're breaking down the 10 emotional stages they go through when you simply disappear. And trust me, if you've ever been treated like an afterthought, this will change how you see everything. So before we get started, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this channel is for those who've had enough of being taken for granted. Let's get into it. Number 1, confusion. The first thing they feel when you disappear? Confusion. At first, it doesn't register. They're not worried. They're not panicking. In their mind, you're just doing what they think men do, pulling back a little. Maybe being busy, maybe playing hard to get. They laugh it off. Tell themselves, he'll text me by tomorrow. He's probably just tired. He always comes back. Because up until now, that's been the pattern. You were consistent, reliable, present. You replied when they needed you. You called back. You showed up. Even when they ignored your efforts. Even when they took their time responding. Even when they kept you in that half-boyfriend, half-backup plan zone. You stayed. But this time, you didn't. You disappeared. No message. No explanation. No warning. And that's when confusion starts crawling into their head like a virus. They check their phone once. Then again. Then again. Nothing. They reopen the last conversation, hoping they missed a message, some clue, some passive-aggressive emoji, some final word. Nothing. Now they're unsettled, but they won't show it yet. They'll play it cool, pretend they're unbothered. But internally, chaos. Because now, questions start firing off like bullets in their brain. Did I say something wrong? Did he meet someone else? Why is he acting like he doesn't care? Was I really that replaceable? This is where you flip the psychological script. Up until now, they were in control, or at least they thought they were. They believed they were the ones holding the power. You were the emotional safety net. You chased, you checked in, you stayed available. They built their confidence on your consistency. But now that it's gone cold and absolute, they're shaken. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to seem weak or exposed. So they double down on ego. On ego, focus marquempes quoi de ressemble for a mine. He's just being dramatic. Whatever, I don't need him. But they do. They didn't know how much, until now. You see, when a man who once gave access suddenly pulls all of it without warning, it creates mental static. It throws off their rhythm, because it breaks the narrative they built in their head. The narrative that you were always available. The narrative that you would never walk. The narrative that you were more invested than they were. They counted on that, and now it's gone. So what do? They go into analysis mode. They replay old conversations. They stalk your last scene, your Instagram, your TikToks, your stories. They start asking mutual friends subtle questions. Hey, is he okay? Have you talked to him recently? But really, they're fishing for reassurance. They don't miss you because you're gone. They miss the certainty you gave them. They miss the comfort of knowing someone cared, even if they didn't treat you like it. Now in your absence, they're left with one thing: doubt. And doubt is a dangerous drug. Because once they start questioning where they stand with you, they start questioning themselves. Their worth. Their appeal. Their grip on the situation. This isn't just confusion. It's the beginning of collapse. And you haven't said a word. You didn't block them. You didn't post a breakup quote. You didn't argue, accuse, or beg. You simply stopped showing up. And that silence? It's louder than anything you could have said. That's what Stoic men do. They don't chase. They don't explain. They don't plead. They remove their presence like oxygen and watch everything else start gasping for air. So while they pretend not to care, just know behind that screen, behind that fake smile, behind those delayed stories and distractions, they're confused. They're losing grip. They're thinking about you more than they ever did when you were still around. And the irony, they still don't realize this is only stage 1. Number 2, loss of control. After confusion wears off, what comes next? Panic, rooted in control. Because suddenly, for the first time, they realize they don't have access to you anymore. Not your time, not your energy, not your attention, not even your emotional reaction. You're not angry. You're not explaining. You're not giving them closure. You're just gone. And that's what breaks them. Because let's be honest, for a while they had control. Not directly, not in the way most people think, but through comfort, through predictability, through knowing you were always going to show up. They knew your pattern. They knew you cared. They knew no matter how much they pushed, played, delayed, or pulled away, you were still going to be there. You became their emotional safety net. And like most people with safety nets, they stopped appreciating it. They stopped respecting it. They assumed your loyalty was permanent, that your presence wasn't a choice, it was a guarantee. Now they know otherwise. Now they realize something terrifying. You were never controlled. You were simply allowing access. You weren't obsessed. You weren't desperate. You were available by choice. And the moment you chose not to be, their illusion of control collapsed. Now every attempt they make to test the waters fails. They throw out a random story, hoping you'll react. They post something provocative, expecting a message. They hint at their sadness, thinking you'll check in. Nothing. No response. No energy from you. Just silence. That's when they truly start spiraling. Because most people can deal with rejection. What they can't handle is being ignored. See, attention is power. And when you give someone consistent access to your attention, you're feeding their ego, validating their worth, reinforcing their place in your life. But when you disappear without explanation, when you cut off that energy with no drama, no big send-off, you shift the dynamic completely. They're no longer in control of how things end. They don't get to rewrite the story. They don't get to frame you as the emotional one, the chaser, the obsessed one. Now, they're the ones checking their phone at night. They're the ones hoping for a text. They're the ones trying to figure out why the power dynamic flipped so fast. And here's the beauty of Stoicism. You don't have to argue. You don't need revenge. You don't need to show them anything. Your absence is the message. Because control is never about screaming louder. It's about not needing to speak at all. They feel out of control because you reclaimed yours. You stopped giving energy to someone who didn't respect it. You stopped offering attention that wasn't valued. You stopped handing over power in the name of potential. And now that you're silent, they're loud. Loud in their mind. Loud in their regret. Loud in the inner chaos that used to be soothed by your presence. But you're calm. Because this isn't revenge. This is self-respect. And nothing scares someone who thought they owned you. Like watching you walk away without looking back. Number 3, ego damage. After confusion, after realizing they've lost control, comes the crack in their ego. Let's get one thing straight. It was never just about you. It was always about how you made them feel about themselves. That attention you gave them, that reliability, that emotional availability, it wasn't just appreciated, Matal the metal began at Murik. It was absorbed into their self-worth. Your presence validated them. Your consistency fed their ego. Even if they didn't say it out loud, they counted on you to remind them. You're wanted, you're desired, you're special. And now, silence. No more validation. No more check-ins. No more good morning texts. No more reassurance that they're still important to somebody. Suddenly, they're staring into a mirror, and they don't like what they see. Because you weren't just anyone. You were stable, grounded, stoic. A man with direction, purpose, and a calm kind of intensity that doesn't chase unless he wants to. And now they have to ask themselves, why isn't he chasing me? Why didn't he fight for me? Was I never enough? This is the part where they start breaking. Not emotionally, yet, but internally. Their ego starts spiraling because it was never built on self-confidence. It was built on external validation, on attention, on being able to pull you back in with a single message. And now, that message goes unanswered. Now they're starting to feel something they haven't felt in a long time. Irrelevant. See, a lot of people don't want real love. They want someone orbiting around their self-importance. And when you disappear, that orbit stops. Their entire self-image, which depended on your emotional gravity, starts collapsing in on itself. And here's the dangerous part. They don't even know if you're mad. Because when someone's angry, they can still feel powerful. They can still say, "See, he still cares. He's still hurt. I still affect him." But you left clean. No outburst. No closure. No last word text. That kind of silence, that kind of indifference, it's lethal to their ego. They start obsessing. Was he ever really into me? Was I just a phase? Did I get played by someone who was better at this game than me? And that last one, that's the wound. That's the real pain point. Because now it's not just about missing you. It's about losing the illusion that they were always in control, that they were the ones with the upper hand, that they were the prize. Now, they're starting to suspect. Maybe you were, and deep down, they're not mad at you. They're mad at themselves for not seeing your value, for not treating you like the king you are, for letting their ego think that someone like you, someone disciplined, calm, composed, was going to stick around forever. Now they're stuck with the realization. You don't chase, you replace. And once they lose you, they lose a version of themselves they actually liked. Because as much as their ego wants to rewrite the story, the truth is this: you didn't disappear because you were weak. You disappeared because you were done. And that truth, it hits them harder than anything you could have ever said. Number 4, overthinking. You've disappeared. No text, no call, no passive-aggressive post, just nothing. And now their mind, it becomes the prison. Because once the ego takes a hit, once the control is lost, what's left is uncertainty. And let me tell you something about uncertainty. Most people can't survive it. They can survive rejection. They can survive arguments. They can even survive getting blocked, screamed at, or humiliated. But being ignored in silence, that's psychological warfare. Why? Because the brain hates gaps. It hates blank spaces in the story. So what happens next? They start writing one. They start creating scenarios, building stories, trying to make sense of your disappearance, trying to solve the mystery of why you stopped caring. And in the process, they spiral. They can't ask you. They can't reach out. Their pride's too fragile. They don't want to look desperate, but they need answers. So they try to find them without you. This is when their stalking game hits elite level. Replaying old conversations, reading between lines that never existed, checking your last online status, watching who you followed, watching who followed you, watching who you unfollowed, watching who you liked. They become detectives in a case you're no longer even involved in. And yet, you're still everywhere. In their thoughts, in their scrolling, in their silence. Here's the psychological kicker. When someone ghosts you, your brain fills in the blank with your own insecurities. So now, all their unresolved fears start showing up. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe he found someone better. Maybe I was just a temporary fix. Was everything he said just game? Did he ever even care? And the worst one of all? Is he over me already? Let that sink in. They're not just hurt. They're now haunted by every unanswered message, by every conversation they didn't take seriously, by every moment they thought you'd always come back. And now they have to live with one reality. You're not coming back. And what makes it even more brutal, they can't confirm anything. You've given them nothing. No drama, no pettiness, no story they can spin to make themselves the victim. Just silence. And silence, my friend, makes them write their own punishment. Because now they're lying in bed at 2 a.m., staring at the screen, hovering over your name, typing, deleting, typing again, and saying nothing. Their pride won't let them message. Their thoughts won't let them sleep. And you're not thinking about them at all. Because Stoic men don't chase. We don't over-explain. We don't justify our absence. We just move like ghosts. Dost. Move like ghosts. Quiet, deliberate, gone. And that silence, that's what drives them insane. Not your words, not your anger, not your exit. Moch your reject. Morning report wu quote le more chode. No war, mort mouths, porti, mild euro 5 no warp mouths, from metal muck, mort, stowed mr, woo thawed, from metal muck, word, reports lays in the walk, no ho wo stow, paul's walk wookars, no hills stow to four. Just the fact that you disappeared, and they can't figure out why. Number 5. Obsession. You're not around. You're not explaining yourself. You're not feeding their ego anymore. And now, you're the only thing on their mind. This is what people don't understand about Stoic detachment. It doesn't just remove you from their life. It embeds you into their psyche. Because when you go silent with zero closure, zero breakdown, zero emotional collapse, you become a mystery. And the human mind? It can't handle mysteries it can't solve. See, obsession doesn't begin with love. It begins with incompleteness. And right now, you are the incomplete story they can't close. They check your profile like it's routine. They reread your texts like scripture. They ask friends vague questions, trying to sound casual. Hey, have you heard from him lately? But it's not casual. Because the more you stay silent, the more space you take up in their head. And that's where it gets twisted. They start craving the very thing they used to take for granted. Your attention, your validation, your predictable presence, your calm, steady energy. They need it now, not because they love you, but because you've become a withdrawal. You were a dopamine hit. You made them feel seen, desired, admired. And now, they're stuck in emotional detox. No text from you. Their mood shifts. A song plays that reminds them of you. Their chest tightens. They scroll past a quote about losing someone. They pause, because that quote feels like you. They'll pretend they're fine. They'll post selfies. They'll fake parties, new connections, or spiritual awakenings. But underneath it all, they're watching, they're waiting, they're withering. Because obsession isn't about presence. It's about the void you leave behind. You didn't chase. You didn't beg. You didn't explain. You vanished with purpose. And that's why you're now stuck in their mind like a looping song, the one they can't skip, can't delete, can't stop humming late at night when they lie awake, wondering why a man like you stopped caring. And here's the killer. They won't even tell anyone they're obsessed, because that would mean admitting you had power, and they can't have that. So they suffer in silence, alone, just like you left them. And the irony? Now they want your attention more than they ever did when they actually had it. But it's too late, because you've leveled up, and they're still stuck trying to solve a puzzle you already walked away from. Number 6, envy. By now they've spiraled through confusion, ego damage, overthinking, and obsession. But here's where it starts to twist into something darker. Jealousy, bitterness, quiet rage. Why? Because while they're losing sleep, you're living like nothing happened. No sad posts, no cryptic quotes, no online breakdown. Just you, calm, steady, moving forward like a man with a mission. And that infuriates them, because they expected pain. They expected heartbreak. They thought you'd fold. They thought you'd post something emotional or reach out just once to prove you still cared. But all they see is your peace. And nothing makes a person angrier than seeing you at peace with what they're still suffering from. You don't look broken. You don't look like you're waiting. You don't look like they mattered. That burns. They start comparing. Why am I still thinking about him and he's not thinking about me? Why does he look better now? Why does he seem happier without me? Because let's be real. You're not just surviving. You're thriving. You're in the gym. You're focused on your goals. You're showing up sharper, colder, more aligned. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was discipline. And now, it's become your advantage. Because here's the harsh truth. Most people don't regret losing you. They regret that you're doing fine without them. And that regret turns to envy. Suddenly, everything about you triggers them. That new photo where you look unfazed. That post about success or growth. That subtle smile, the one that says, "I'm not broken." They try to downplay it. "Oh, he's just pretending. He's trying to make me jealous. He'll come back eventually." But deep down, they know you're gone. And you didn't just leave their life. You left their emotional grip. That's what really cuts. Because envy doesn't show up when someone leaves crying. It shows up when someone leaves without a scratch. That's you, stoic, unbothered, disappeared, without explanation, without apology, without chaos. And the worst part for them, you didn't need them to become better. You became better without them. That's when envy starts to rot them from the inside. Because now you're not just the one who walked away. You're the one who leveled up. And them. They're still sitting in silence, refreshing your profile, trying to figure out how the one they thought was obsessed with them just vanished. Number 7. Regret. This is the moment everything hits them. Not in pieces. Not gradually. All at once. It's not just that you're gone. It's not just that you're silent. It's that now. They finally see you clearly. You weren't dramatic. You weren't toxic. You weren't insecure. You weren't too much. You were solid, present, patient, stoic. And now that you're not there, the absence is deafening. This is the stage where they stop blaming you and start blaming themselves. Everything they ignored, they start remembering. The late night calls you answered, the plans you made, the patience you showed, the boundaries you respected, the loyalty you gave. And they start asking the one question that drives regret deeper than anything else. Why didn't I value him when I had the chance? See, people don't regret losing someone who begged. They regret losing someone who stayed quiet. Because that silence means you left by choice. You didn't leave because you were weak. You didn't leave because you couldn't handle them. You left because they weren't worthy of staying for. That realization, that's what cracks them open. They start retracing every mistake. They replay every moment where they could have appreciated you, but chose pride, or games, or ego. And now they feel the weight. Because regret isn't just sadness. It's knowing you can go back. It's not that they can't text you. They can, but they know. The version of you that cared, that man is gone. And even if you answered, you wouldn't be the same. You're colder now, wiser, sharper, more focused. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You don't need their validation. You just needed peace. Peace, and you gave it to yourself. And that's what they regret the most. That they took the man who would have moved mountains for them and turned him into a man who doesn't even flinch when they're mentioned. Now the apology they want to send, it never gets typed. Because even they know it won't matter anymore. Number 8. Fear of replacement. At first, they wanted space. Then they felt your absence. Then they envied your peace. Then the regret came. But now comes the worst part for them. The fear that you've moved on, that someone else gets your energy, your attention, your presence, your loyalty. And here's the brutal truth. They know damn well they didn't replace you. Because the more they search, the more they realize there's no one like you. No one with your presence, your self-control, your calm masculinity, your silence with meaning. You didn't try to make them jealous. You didn't throw a rebound in their face. You just went ghost and got better. And now they're terrified. Every smile you post, they're scanning for clues. Every unfamiliar name that pops up, they spiral. Is she prettier than me? Is she making him laugh the way I used to? Did she get the version of him I took for granted? The worst part? They'll never know for sure. Because you gave them no closure. And now you give them no access. Your life has become a private show. And the parts they used to see, your affection, your vulnerability, your availability, that's all behind the curtain now. And they're locked out. This fear eats at their pride. Because it's no longer about just losing you. It's about someone else gaining what they threw away. And deep down, they know, if someone else has you now, you'll treat her better than you ever treated them. Because you've leveled up, you've evolved, you've healed. So the next one gets the refined version of you, The man built from silence, detachment, and discipline. And for them, that's unbearable. Because they lost the before version. But now they have to live with the thought that someone else has the after. And here's the kicker. You're not flaunting anything. You're not proving anything. You're just living. And somehow, that hurts them more than anything you could have said or done. Because when a stoic man moves on, he doesn't announce it. He just doesn't come back. Number 9, desperation. This is the crash. This is where the silence becomes too loud. This is when your absence stops being confusing and starts being unbearable. At first, they were annoyed. Then they were confused. Then they obsessed. Then they envied. Then they regretted. Then they feared you'd been replaced. But now they're desperate. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You weren't just someone they dated. You were the anchor, the constant, the one who never folded. And now that you're gone, they're spiraling. Because this isn't about missing your face, your texts, or your voice. This is about missing your energy, that rare masculine calm that made them feel safe even when life was chaotic. And the truth hits them hard. So they'll never find that again. So now, they break. They stalk your socials. They replay every memory. They fantasize about bumping into you by accident. They type full paragraphs at 3 a.m., delete them, and then write them again. They ask mutual friends about you, pretending they're just curious, but they're not. They're unraveling. Because for the first time, they fully understand. You're not coming back. Not this time. Not ever. They start doing anything to get your attention, posting things they know you'll see, playing games they swore they'd never play, even reaching out, just a little, pretending they need closure. But it's not closure they want. It's access. Access to the man they can't replace. Access to the peace they destroyed. Access to the version of you that no longer exists. And the worst part, they don't even know what to say. Because what do you say to the person who gave you 1,000 chances, and then one day just stopped? They realize the window is closed. You're not bitter. You're not angry. You're not playing games. You're indifferent. And that, right there, that's what shatters them. Because desperation isn't just about missing someone. It's about realizing you're still in love with a person who doesn't even think about you anymore. That's when they finally drop the mask. And in their darkest moments, they cry for the man they thought they could replace. But your silence, it remains. Not as revenge, not as punishment, but because you outgrew the version of you who would have answered. Number 10, submission. This is the end of the emotional war they've been fighting in silence. At this point, they're not confused anymore. They're not angry. They're not trying to win. They're not hoping. They've reached the final stage. Acceptance, submission, surrender. They finally admit what their pride couldn't. You were the one who loved them when they didn't deserve it. The one who stayed solid while they were playing games. The one who showed up again and again until one day you didn't. And now they're not fighting for your attention. They're not checking if you've moved on. They know you have, but it's not that you found someone better. You became someone they can't reach anymore. That's the part that stings the most. You didn't move on to punish them. You didn't glow up to spite them. You did it because you finally saw the truth. They were never on your level. You just loved them too deeply to admit it. Now they watch from the sidelines. Silent, defeated, resigned. No more games. No more texts. No more fake strength. Just quiet submission to the truth. They lost a real one. They replay every sign you gave. They realize how patient you were. How many times you overlooked the disrespect. How much you tolerated while asking for so little. And now they know. You didn't disappear. You evolved. And evolution has no reverse button. So what do? Nothing. Because they can't. They can't reach out. They're too ashamed. They can't move on. No one measures up. They can't forget you. Because you left a mark. Not just as a boyfriend. Not just as a partner. You were the moment. You were the one who taught them what real presence feels like. And the absence of it is a void they'll never refill. They'll meet others. Smile at new faces. Try to distract themselves. But deep down, they'll always compare. And every time they do, one truth echoes. I had him, I lost him, and he'll never be mine again. That's the submission. That's the quiet heartbreak. That's the legacy you left behind, by doing nothing but walking away. There you have it. 10 raw emotional stages they go through when you disappear like a ghost. And here's the truth. You didn't leave to get a reaction. You left because your peace mattered more than their attention. If this hit home, drop a comment below that says, I don't chase, I outgrow. And if you're tired of begging, chasing, or explaining your worth, subscribe for more content that reminds you who the hell you are. Because real power isn't in getting them back. It's in never needing them again. Stay stoic, stay solid, and never settle.